Hey, Kat Haig here, and in this video, I wanted to have a chat to you guys about the best way to break down how you invest really the two most valuable assets that you as a business owner own, your time and your money. So, by now, wherever you are in your business, you've probably got a pretty good understanding of how much, well, time and money that you can easily throw at marketing, and that in a lot of cases, the time or the money that you're spending in marketing can be a bit of a waste. And so this video is really about my thoughts and my recommendations on how to best decide when to spend your time versus your money on different parts of your marketing in order to actually get an outcome, a positive outcome for your marketing, where your marketing actually is accountable to driving your business growth and revenue. So let's get started. So, this is an obvious one, but just really to hit home about why this decision is so important. Your marketing is important because getting your marketing done right makes sure that you're making the right first impression to potential clients, and that impression continues and is consistent. You obviously want to make sure you're getting enough clients, the right clients, and that they're maximizing the amount of money that these clients are actually paying you. And, this is just what you need to do to make a business viable. Now, when I talk about marketing, when I work in marketing, often there's a bit of a gray area where marketing transitions into sales. So you will find that some of the things that I talk about, you might classify some of it as sales. So I do talk about things like your CRM and deal management and things like that. So in my mind, for most businesses, your marketing and sales should kind of work together. In fact, they're one journey that a potential customer is actually walking through. So they shouldn't be looked at as these two different silos. So some of these points here you probably think might be more along the line of sales. However, especially from a digital standpoint, and depending on the type of products or services that you sell, they really should be looked at almost as one overarching bucket. So we know marketing is important. So why is it so important that we get this balance of time versus money right for you specifically? And again, the answers that are going to be right for you are going to differ to the answers that are going to be right for someone else. Obviously, it depends on things like how much money you actually have, how much time you actually have, where you're at in your business, your skill set. So how do we get this balance right? Now, why is it so important to get this balance right? Now, a couple of, again, probably pretty obvious things. DIYing everything can be great. And look, so my background, you probably know a bit about me by now, but I've been in marketing my whole career, but I've also run a lot of businesses of my own as well. So marketing is a little passion of mine, but I also love to apply marketing to other things that I'm interested in. And so I've run my own businesses in everything from personal training to my own marketing consultancy. I've had e-commerce businesses. I've built different apps and promoted those. And when it's come to my own businesses, often I've ended up going down the route of trying to DIY everything. Now, luckily for me, I'm a marketer. And so in some cases that's actually, played out well because I've been able to do those things. But even so, where I can make my money obviously is in working and often working for clients. So me doing DIY work myself, even though I have the skills to do so, may mean that I'm taking a lot of time, because obviously marketing can be very time consuming, off my income generating activities. So even though I can DIY everything, should I be? And this is the sort of question that we need to be asking. So DIY can take a lot of time, okay? And that can delay your launch. And it also, again, pulls you away from other revenue generating activities that you could be doing as a business owner. You're the one driving the ship. DIY can also mean that the quality is lower. Now, marketing is broad, okay? Whether we're talking about ads or analytics or design, you need a lot of skills if you wanted to DIY all of your marketing. So if you did try and DIY all of your marketing, it can mean that the quality of your output is lower. And of course, we want to make sure that your marketing is high quality, both from a brand perspective to make sure that people are getting the right perception of your brand, that it's trusted and that it's high quality, etc. But also, obviously, when it comes to marketing, if you're talking about ads and analytics and things, if the quality is lower, that's probably going to mean that your conversions are lower, your revenue is lower. So it's a pretty big deal. So, DIY might be cheaper in the short term because you're not having to spend money on experts, but it may mean that the outcome at the end is that your revenue is actually lower. So it's in a sense almost cost you more money to DIY. DIY can also, and I've seen this happen many times, result in you having to redo the work quite soon afterwards because you spend a month or 2 months trying to do your website or trying to launch that ad campaign, and it just becomes either a money pit or a time pit or both. And then you get to the end and you're like, well, I just went around in circles for the last 2 months. I'm not happy with what I've created. I've wasted a whole bunch of time and money, and now I have to go find someone to actually help me. So that's a whole lot of time that you could have been spending on doing other things if you'd done that right the first time and used a professional. Now, looking at the reverse of that, doing everything with a professional and an expert can cost a lot of money. Again, marketing is broad. If you were going to get a designer to design every single marketing asset that you ever create, every banner ad, every social media post, every email, copy, you're going to spend a lot of money. And for a lot of businesses, that's just not realistic. Also, it can be really hard to know what professionals to trust. Now, we're talking about marketing. So these people are marketers. They're fairly good at selling. And as a business owner, it can often be hard to know who to trust. And unless you have some level of understanding of marketing yourself, it can be hard to even know what questions to ask and how to verify those professionals that they're the right fit. And of course, depending on what you're trying to outsource, you need a different skill set. So you'll need different professionals. So trying to find the right mix of people can be really difficult. And it can also be really hard to even know if the work that you've spent money on someone doing for you is actually working. So if someone builds your website, how do you know if that website, is successful? In the mind of a business owner, a website may just be, how does it look? How do you actually know as a business owner that that website is going to convert, or even if it's up and running, if it is converting, and how does that compare to benchmarks? If you're talking about ad campaigns, how do you know if those ad campaigns are working? Now, this is, particularly if as a business owner, you don't understand the performance metrics of that campaign. If you don't understand, what an average cost per click is for your industry for Google, or what the quality score is, and how that's calculated on Google, or a benchmark conversion rate for your industry, it can be really hard to verify and to validate whether what these people that you're spending money on is doing is actually working, and whether, for example, it's even any better than what you could actually do yourself. So, finding the right professionals and making sure that they're doing their job and not just wasting your money or charging you for things, for a retainer that they're not actually investing much time can be challenging. And the other thing is, once you've spent your money on professionals, just like you spend your time DIYing, once you've done that, that money or that time is essentially gone. And then if it doesn't work out, you've got to go re-find a new professional and you've got to start that journey again. So again, getting this balance right is really, really, really important, but it's really challenging. So what I've done is I have broken down 3 key areas of your marketing. Now, again, there are so many components of your marketing, but these are 3 areas that I find I'm often talking about with businesses, and are often things that people are working through in their business, and just ongoing things that they're spending a lot of money or spending a lot of time in. So I thought that'd be 3 great, pillars to kind of unpack in terms of getting this equation right. And when we get to the end of this video, you'll kind of get you'll see that there's some consistency in how I would approach this question for different types of your marketing. So if you are looking at other areas of your marketing and this question about DIYing or outsourcing, and we haven't covered it in this video, I think by the end of this video, you should be able to hopefully unpack that question yourself. So a couple of key things for me, okay? You, as the business owner, are always responsible for the end result. Okay, you don't be the victim. Don't let people take advantage of you. It's no one else's fault but yours if it doesn't work. And I know that's hard to hear, and I know in many cases it's probably, there's probably examples of where you have been taken advantage of, or people have misled you and things like that, and it's impacted you. But remember, it's impacted you, okay? It hasn't necessarily impacted that professional. You've spent the money with them, okay? They've got the work. They've gone away now and they've been paid, so they win. and that sucks for you and it's terrible for them. And maybe you're going to give them a bad review or whatever else might happen. But in the end, it's you as a business owner that has had you've had the repercussions of that, and you've had the impact of that. So I want you to take ownership. Okay. You as the business owner are always responsible for the end result. If it doesn't work, no one else is impacted as heavily as you. So don't let anyone take this control away from you. Okay, so what does this mean? So it's really, really important that regardless of whether you decide to DIY or outsource each of the different parts of your marketing, that you understand enough about that thing to hold a conversation. So you need to make sure that these people that have skills also know how to, and they also use their brain. Okay, they also know best practices, they know strategy. Okay, it's very, very, very important. Just because I know all the buttons that exist in the back end of Facebook Ads Manager doesn't mean that I can create an ad campaign that converts. Okay, just because I know how to run really good Facebook ads doesn't mean I know how to create a really high converting landing page. So if you understand, how, say, a Facebook ads campaign or how Facebook ads at a high level is structured and how a campaign should be structured, or even some benchmarks for conversion rates for a landing page, or even understand the fact that you need a landing page for your campaign, and understand what sort of things should be on that landing page to maximize its conversions, you can suddenly hold the conversation with these experts that you're kind of verifying and validating before you give them the work. You can ask them the hard questions, you can hold them accountable, you can set them objectives, and you can say, this is, for me, this is going to be successful if we hit these targets. Okay, and we need to hit these targets within the first month or the first 3 months of launch, or I'm moving away to someone else. Okay, so you need to be able to own the decisions and own the outcome. So again, the most important thing here is that even if you outsource all of your marketing, understand enough about how marketing works and about how go and educate yourself on theory for that topic of marketing before you outsource it. Okay. And again, there's going to be some key things that you'll want to know in each area of marketing that you're outsourcing before you go and do that. So just make sure that you understand that. Now, if you are a Growth Sprout member and you have any questions about, outsourcing to certain people, certain parts of your marketing, again, you can jump into the Facebook community and you can just ask me, for that area of marketing, what are the things that you want to know? What are the questions that you want to ask? And even if, I can just even point you in the right direction of what to Google, what sites to look at to just upskill you in the really crucial elements that you need to understand in order to, again, hold these experts accountable and make sure that they can deliver a good output. Now, of course, if you decide to DIY different areas, and we'll kind of, again, unpack this a bit in a moment, but if you decide to DIY, of course, it's very important that you understand not just the theory, but also the practical side of each element that you're DIYing. And it's really, really important that you don't waste your time, just like it's important you don't waste your money. So don't reinvent the wheel. How can you use templates and scripts and other things that are already created by experts that you trust, so that you don't have to, research from from scratch. You don't want, as a business owner, to have to become a marketer. Okay. You don't want to need to know as much about marketing as I need to know about marketing. If you're going to DIY, the aim is to hack. Okay. How can you access the expertise of marketers and things that are already created so that you can get a similar level of output quickly, rather than having to go through the entire journey that an expert has gone through to learn that skill in marketing. Okay. So then again, you're looking at what is available. Can you get scripts, templates, cheat sheets, whatever that might look like, if you're going to DIY. And again, with DIYing, know your strengths and know your weaknesses, know your skills. If you're a terrible designer and you're really not creative, maybe don't try and go and do all your creative assets. Maybe that's something you might want to outsource. If you're really not a numbers person, maybe, or like you're not very technical, maybe going and trying to set up integrations with your website and your email platform, maybe that's something you might want to think of outsourcing. So, know your skills and know where your weaknesses are, so that if you do decide to, have some sort of a balance between DIYing and outsourcing, you pick the right areas to try and DIY that are probably your personal strengths anyway. So you're going to find it easier to pick up those skills and even more fun to learn those things than others. Because if you're enjoying it and if you're interested in it, that you're going to get a better output than if it feels like a chore. Okay. Now, so again, strategy is best from you. Now that's a big call coming from me, and my marketing consultancy business is strategy. That's what I bring to the table for my clients. So I guess what I mean by this is I want to challenge the average expert, in inverted commas. A lot of people, so again, marketing is very broad. Okay. So again, just because I might be a great, web designer doesn't mean that I know how to code. Just because I'm a great web designer doesn't mean I know how to design for conversions. Okay. Just because I'm a great web designer doesn't mean that I know how email marketing works. And unfortunately, for your marketing to work, you can't look at marketing in these silos. Marketing has to be this kind of holistic infrastructure, this end-to-end journey you're taking people through, and all these different components of your marketing need to map together with these puzzle pieces into something bigger. Okay, so having all these different experts or even DIY in these different areas of your marketing, unless you have some overarching strategy that brings it all together and gives each thing a reason for being there, it's probably not going to work, or it's not going to work anywhere near as well as it should. Okay, so when I say strategy is best from you, look, whether you are getting help by a strategist or someone, or whether you're learning yourself, regardless of whether you're going down the DIY path or the outsourcing path, or a combination of both, the important point here is that you need to own and understand the strategy. So even if someone maps out the strategy for you and you get a strategist in and they're like, this is the blueprint for your marketing, ask the questions, understand it on a very deep level. Okay, even that high level blueprint, understand why each of those components of this strategy exist and how they map together. Ask the questions about who should be doing what. Okay, so however you come up with that strategy, and whoever's involved in that, you need to own it. You need to believe in it. You need to know that is the right direction for your business. Okay. And then from there, that is when we start figuring out which parts to DIY, where to outsource, who to use. Okay. But that overarching strategy is crucial to not wasting both your time and your money. So make sure that you put a plan together that actually is a high level strategy for your marketing, and make sure it is best practice, and it's something that is actually going to work. And whether that's via education yourself or getting help, you own that strategy. Okay. So don't just trust someone to get it right. Ask the hard questions. Okay. So don't just understand the what. So it's like, here's your blueprint. Here's what you should be doing for your marketing. And you're just like, cool, thanks. Ask the questions, challenge the expert. Okay. I love that the people that I work with when I'm consulting, they challenge me. They ask me why. They ask me if they should be adding certain things to the strategy or taking certain things out, or they question my decisions. And that is really, really good, because they should be. Okay. You should always be questioning and challenging the people that you are spending money on getting their expertise from. Okay, that you want to be able to verify that they know what they're talking about, and they need to be able to answer your questions. So don't be afraid to challenge them. That's their job. Okay. Also, it's really important that you make sure that for every single area of your marketing, you have an agreement with the experts, or even with yourself, on what success and what failure looks like. Okay, so whether that's a website or a Facebook campaign or email marketing, if you have benchmarks, if you have goals, then you can track towards them. Having goals means that, as you tweak things and as you optimize things, you know what you're working towards, and you know how far away you are from kind of something that's realistic and achievable and positive. However, you also know that, say, if in X time frame it doesn't hit those targets, then maybe that area of marketing isn't going to be successful for you, or maybe that expert isn't the right fit for you. Okay, so it's really, really important that you define what success and failure looks like, and you have smart goals set in place for every area of your marketing. Okay, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. If you haven't heard that acronym before, you can just Google SMART goals and it will break it down. There's a couple of variations, but the idea is that they're trackable, okay? That they're measurable, they have a time frame, they have numbers, and you know if you've hit them very, very, very clearly, okay? And ideally you have an understanding of who's accountable for what as well. Okay, so again, I mentioned this before, but know your strengths and outsource your weaknesses. Marketing is broad. Trying to DIY all of your marketing, and again, this is coming from me as a business owner who is a marketer and often tries to DIY things. Know what is going to take you 3 dedicated weeks of you sitting in front of your computer from 5 a.m. till midnight to try and get right, when you could outsource it for, for a couple of, for $1,000 or for however much money it is. Know what your time is worth, and know how painful things are going to be for you, or, how far away from your current skill set and your current, interests and output is, and understand that your time is valuable as a business owner. Okay. Often, regardless of the type of business or size of business, when it comes down to it, you're one of the key revenue generators in that business. Okay. Even if you have a whole sales team. So your time is very, very valuable. Okay. And we want to make sure that your time is best spent, okay, on the success and the growth of your business. So, you don't want to be doing DIYing things that are going to take you, a lot longer than someone else, when you could have been earning more money in that time or generating more revenue in that time than it would have cost you to outsource. Okay, so it's a really good question to ask yourself. So again, educate yourself on strategy and best practice, so you understand what success looks like, and you can hold people or even yourself accountable. Really, really, really importantly, know the value of your time. Okay, put a monetary figure on each hour of your time. However you figure that out, which is probably, an entirely separate video that we need to talk about. Know the value of your time. Now, I'm lucky as a marketing consultant. I bill clients based on an hourly rate. So for me, this is quite an easy equation. I just work out how much time something is likely going to take me versus how much money it would cost to outsource. And again, I usually would get 3 quotes by various experts, and I make that decision based on, yes, time and money for me are equally as important. Okay. In many cases, time is probably more important for me because I'm only me. There's only one of me. So, again, getting this equation is really, really important. And so I won't DIY things if I know that I can make more money in that time by doing other things than just outsourcing it. Okay. So make sure you understand the value of your time, and don't devalue that. Okay. Your time is very, very important on the success and the growth of your business, regardless of how far along the journey you are, regardless of, how skilled you think you are, regardless of if you're just getting started. Your time is hugely valuable. And again, if you do decide to outsource, don't go lie on the beach for that afternoon. Make sure that you use the time that you've saved, because again, you've spent money now. Okay. So use the time that you've saved valuably, so that you actually are using that time to generate revenue and to do things that are going to grow your business. And of course, very importantly, pick your partners carefully, hold them accountable, ask the good questions. Okay. Challenge them. Okay, so again, I mentioned we were going to talk about 3 key marketing pillars and how to break this down a little bit, and my recommendations. So what should you DIY and what should you outsource? So first of all, let's talk about websites. Now, websites are absolutely the central part of your marketing mix. Now, I'm talking about websites in a very broad sense, okay? So when I'm talking about websites, I'm really talking about everything from your website, your landing pages, all your integrations with your analytics tools, with your email platform. So this is everything like your sales pages, your forms, all of these, I guess, pages that you create as part of your funnels and your marketing. I've just bucketed that all into the bucket of websites. Okay. And now in many cases, there are people that might have 6 tools that they're currently using that kind of might fit in this box. They might have a tool for like their content pages. They might have a tool for their blog. They might have a tool for their sales pages and actually selling things online, or like their e-commerce store. They might have a tool for their opt-in forms, etc. So, again, it's quite a complex world here, talking about your websites and creating a website that is built to convert, because regardless of whether we're talking about just the kind of content pages or the whole thing in one tool, you need all those components in order to build something that's actually going to grow your business and convert. Okay. So getting this right is crucial, because all the money and time you're spending on ad campaigns and SEO and whatever else, if this is wrong, if this is not optimized, then nothing else is going to pay off. Nothing else is going to work. And that's regardless of whether you're DIYing or outsourcing, you are wasting your time and money. Okay. So this is crucial. Okay. So your website, and this is coming from me, and again, I've been doing this for quite a long time, and I play in, a very broad breadth of kind of the marketing world. I do graphic design for clients. I, optimize for conversions. I write copy. I set up campaigns. I look at things quite broadly. And still, websites are the most heavy duty, time sucky, complex compartment of in fact, I'd say all of my clients' marketing, infrastructure. And not getting this right can be a total barrier to your growth. And again, it can be very, very time consuming to build a website and to get this right because there's so many components. So if you decide to outsource, because again, if you're DIYing, it's going to take you a whole lot of time and you might not get it right. But we'll talk about that in a sec. So if you decide to outsource your website, make sure that you understand what you need to build and why. So we're talking again about strategy. What is your plan and your strategy for your website and why? What are all the overarching pieces? What's the functionality? What integrations are needed? You need to own that. And no matter how much research you need to do, and even if you get, people to quote and pitch and whatever, own that, ask questions, and make sure that you are comfortable with the overarching what, okay? Almost like the brief. You own that regardless of what you outsource, regardless of what you DIY. In every area of your marketing, you need to own the brief, okay? And the strategy. So you need to ask the right questions. What platform should my website be built on? What pages do I need? What integrations do I need? So does it need to plug into Google Analytics? Does it need to plug into my email marketing platform, my CRM? What are the performance objectives? Does the site need to load fast? Does it need to be optimized for SEO? How when it's launched, how, etc. Whatever the metrics will look like for you, which will be different, okay, for each different business. But have an idea of buckets of things that are important to you, whether again it's SEO or things, or even if you have specific numbers. So, hey, I have a current website and my conversion rate is this, or on average people spend this long on my site, and I want to make sure that the new website at least hits the same numbers. And also make sure that you have a plan about how your site is going to achieve your business goals. So why do you have a website? Is it just, an information source? Is it just a business card online? Or does it have more of a purpose? Is it to drive sales? Do you have products that you can sell online? Is it to build your email list? Is it to drive qualified leads? Have goals for your business, your website, and understand and map how your website is going to achieve those, and make sure that's part of your plan. Okay. And also, once the site is built, again, regardless of whether you DIY or outsource, your website should be an evolving beast. It should be constantly changing. You should be adding new content to your blog. You should be learning about what's working and what's not, and you should be changing it. You've got analytics set up, hopefully. So make sure that it's set up in a way that you can make changes. If you have to go to a web developer or a marketing person every single time that you're like, I want to change something, or this has changed, or I want to optimize something, or, the analytics tell me this, you're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of money on your website forever. Okay. And no matter who it is that you've worked with, they're business owners themselves in many cases, and they're also time poor. So making sure that you own access so that you can jump in and make those changes when you need to is really important. So you're not waiting for other people. So pick partners that can ensure the design, the speed, and the functionality boxes are all ticked for your website, and ideally maybe help you with strategy. So basically, there are a number of different areas when it comes to your website that are very, very different skills. Just because someone's a great designer doesn't mean that they're a developer. Just because someone is a great at SEO doesn't mean they can design. So you need to make sure that you've ticked all the boxes when it comes to picking your partners for your website. That may mean you need an agency. Okay, instead of one person. It might mean that you need three or four different freelancers. It may mean that you use a template for one part and then you outsource the build, etc. And it may mean you DIY some components. Maybe you found some really pretty templates. Maybe you're actually a creative and you know how to use Photoshop, and you found some beautiful Photoshop templates that you know are optimized for conversions that aren't just pretty for your website pages. And maybe you can go into Photoshop and add your brand assets and write your copy for them and then provide them to a developer. So understand the different components that are involved and make sure you pick your partners and the define responsibilities really, really clearly. To give you a rough idea, and I know it's very broad, be prepared to spend anything from 3 to maybe 20 grand on your highly converting website. So now we've talked about if you're going to outsource your website. If you decide to DIY your website, and by now hopefully you understand how big a commitment that is. And I'm telling you because I DIY my sites and they're huge. If you decide to DIY your website, make sure that you have, again, you don't want to have to rebuild the world here. You don't want to have to, come up yourself with a website strategy and have to understand all the worlds of SEO and conversion rate optimization and email marketing and forms and how to do integrations. Like, it's just too big. So if you're going to try and DIY your website, find ways to access things that are already built and already exist that are designed for your type of a business that you can use, whether that, again, is templates, scripts, frameworks, a list of tools that work really well together, step-by-step instructions on how to do the integrations, etc. And again, you might decide to do certain parts of your website DIY and other parts to outsource, but use as much as you can from things that already exist rather than having to, become a website expert yourself, because again, it's just too big. And people that spend their life selling services within that bucket of just websites, even they often don't have the skills to do the whole thing. Often you'll find, I don't know any developer or anyone that's really good at, WordPress, like really, really good. Or I don't know many people that, could actually do the design as well, for example. So, use things that exist if you can. Now, if you're a Growth Sprout member, you'll find a whole lot of resources in Growth Sprout in the resources tab and in the tactics library, the step-by-step kind of how-to tactics. You'll have things like Photoshop and Canva page designs and wireframes. I've got also WordPress templates in there that are built for e-commerce businesses, that are built for service-based businesses. So you can just use one of my templates that are pre-built with all the pages that have already been designed for you. There's services in there that you can access that will have my team actually go and customize those templates for your business, etc. So if you remember, you can jump in and there's a whole lot of stuff that you should be using from day one for your website rather than trying to figure that out from scratch. Learn how to optimize your site for SEO. Okay, again, it probably sounds like a big deal here, but what I would suggest is, again, if you're a Growth Sprout member, there are tactics in Growth Sprout. There's a course in Growth Sprout to walk you through this. Now, there are some things that are very easy and very quick to do on an SEO basis for each of your pages of your website. Okay, so it can be like a 5-minute, maybe 10-minute job per page to optimize it for some basic SEO. And again, with it, like with many areas of marketing, SEO is huge. So we can talk about SEO forever. There's probably always more you can do with SEO, but there are some basic things that you should be doing on your website. And again, even if you outsource your website, make sure that someone is ticking that SEO box. Does your page, do your pages have a title and a description that's optimized for a specific keyword as a very basic thing? Has any of the copy or the content of the pages been considered from an SEO perspective? So make sure you've thought about that as well. And also, learn how to set up required tracking and integrations. Now, again, if you're DIYing, your website needs to talk to your email platform. If you've got a form on your website, it needs to send through when someone submits the form to your email address. So these are really important. So whether that's something that you decide to outsource if you're DIYing your website, or whether it's something you decide to do yourself, it's very, very important that you do that step. Okay. And again, in Growth Sprout, there are tactics that will walk you through how to do that, how to set up your Facebook pixel, how to set up Google Analytics and integrate it with your website, etc., etc. But they're very, very important to do. Also in Growth Sprout, you'll find some checklists as well, things like, the process that you'll need to go through to DIY in your website, what integrations you'll want to make sure you have, what tracking to set up, where to do that, etc. So very, very importantly, make sure that you build your website regardless of whether you outsource or DIY with 6 key principles in mind. Educate, offer value, build trust, build a database, optimize conversions, and consider SEO. Okay, so you need to build trust with people. Often people aren't going to buy the first time they hear about you, okay? Or they're definitely not going to spend much if they do. So what you want to do is you want to, build this tribe, build this audience that trusts you. Okay. So educate them, offer value, show them that you know what you're talking about. Okay. With that, and so there's 2 parts of that. It's showing them that you know what you're talking about in your world, have content that's valuable. But obviously also you want to prove what you can do. So have proof on your website as well, whether that's testimonials or case studies, or if it's products, obviously product photos, whatever it might be. But then when separate to, I guess, the content on your site, we need to make sure that your website is built for set specific goals. Okay. So key goals that you need to be considering is how to build your database. Okay. And the reason here is that regardless of what website you own or how big you are, or how successful you are, and how much money you're spending on driving traffic to that website and what type of traffic that is, whether it's from SEO or ads or whatever it might be, most of the people that come to your website will not convert. Okay, they won't spend money, they'll just leave. So you need to find a way or multiple ways that you can continue that journey with them and you can continue to follow up with them. Okay, and this is when we talk about customer journeys and funnels. But it's really important that you look at how can you be doing things like remarketing. So if they come to your website and leave, how can you retarget them on things like Facebook to make sure that they're still seeing your content and still staying front of mind. Also, how can you get them into your database so that you own that contact now and you can keep emailing them and following up and, adding value and giving them value so that when they're ready, they're still in that kind of, relationship with your business when they're ready to actually use an expert or buy something in the categories of what you sell. Optimize your site for conversions. So that's very, very important. How are you going to translate visitors to leads and sales? Okay, understand that and know that, and then make sure that, again, you've set key goals and objectives around how that's going to work, and then optimize your site towards driving people to those objectives. Okay, and the last thing is do consider SEO. Okay, SEO can be a great way of getting a huge volume of traffic to your site, in the long term without having to pay per click. So do have a bit of a think around, what you'd like to come up for on Google when it comes to SEO, and have some base level understanding of how kind of SEO, of what you can be doing on your website to optimize just for basic SEO even. So again, if you're a Growth Sprout member, some of the resources that you'll have available to you in your portal, there's a website strategy in there for e-commerce as well as for services-based businesses. So you can just get in there, access that strategy, and then download it and edit it and tailor it as you need to for your own business. You've got pre-built WordPress themes. You've got copy scripts for each pages. You've got wireframes which show what you should have on each of those pages and in what order. If you're not a member yet, you can find out more at my website, just kathaig.com/join. If you're a member, it's all in there for you. Here's some examples of some of the wireframes for this is for a service-based business. So it has, what you should have on each page and some text that explains why, etc. Okay, so number 2 is your content. So your content, this is your social media content, your blog content, your email content, all of your content, videos, whatever it might be. You're watching right now a piece of my content. Your content is your proof, okay? Regardless of how your content is used in your marketing or what type of content we're talking about, it is proof that your business is trusted, that your business, is trusted and is a business that someone would be happy to spend money with, okay? Your content should show your value and expertise, whether that's, again, product or services. It needs to build trust. So it needs to be high quality. So if you decide to outsource, it's really important that you create the bones again and only outsource the admin. Okay, now what this means is that just like everything else, you need to understand and own the overarching strategy for your content. Why are you creating content? What content are you creating? How are you distributing that content? Why are you creating that content? How is that content going to translate to growth in your database, to leads and to sales over longer term? How does your content look? Is it on, how does your brand get represented in that sort of, in different types of content? Once you have that plan, and again, you can get help to create that plan by someone, but you need to own it and you need to trust it, and you need to be on board and have questioned it and own that strategy. Okay. Then in terms of the actual admin, in terms of taking your insight, your knowledge, and turning that into a blog post or repurposing that blog post into social media posts or whatever that looks like, you can certainly outsource the admin, absolutely. But as long as, the key value that you offer as a business, and again, whether you're an expert or whether you're selling products, whatever it might be, you need to make sure that asset of, the expertise or the value or the, whatever it might be, isn't lost by outsourcing your content to someone else. Because again, this is the first thing that people are going to see from your business. This is the first way that people are going to be able to, make a decision about whether they want to continue this journey with your business. If you outsource your content to the extent of getting other people to say, write your blog post or define what you should be writing about, and you haven't done that, you're removing some level of value from that content, and suddenly you're probably going to sound like everyone else out there, and you don't want that. Okay. So again, if you're a Growth Sprout member, some of the content you can find just into your portal there. I've got Canva templates there for you. I've got a weekly content action plan, and I've got a detailed content strategy. So you can jump in, use that strategy to actually, again, just edit my template and map out the big picture for your content, and then also what you should be doing on a weekly basis, which includes key accountabilities, what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, and then you can map in the who as well. So what part are you going to DIY and what part are you going to do yourself or outsource? The third bucket that we want to talk about is ads. Now, the same thing goes, okay? You need to own and understand the high-level strategy. Why are you running the ads? What does success look like? What does failure look like? Why are those ads used for that type of marketing and that part of your marketing strategy, okay? Now, in terms of the actual ads and the campaigns, planning and optimizing a highly converting ad campaign isn't rocket science. If you simply follow step-by-step instructions, if you have a process, if you have some guidance or a formula, anyone can do this. So it's certainly something you can DIY, but it can be very time consuming. And again, you need to at least have an understanding, if you're going to be following a formula, of how these different ad campaigns work and function, so that you can, again, ask yourself good questions. You can analyze the data and understand what's working and what's not and how to improve, okay? So yes, it's going to take you a bit of time to set up a campaign, okay? But where the time suck really is ongoing ad optimization. Now, the amount of time that you'll have to invest in optimizing a campaign reduces over time, okay? There's lots that you can be doing to optimize and to learn, but over time, as you've gained those learnings, there's less that you can kind of do, okay? So again, when it comes to outsourcing, it's important to know that if you've been working with an agency for 6 months on Google, I'd be asking them, what have they been doing each week or each month, to optimize that campaign? How much money are you spending, and what is the difference month by month that you've seen? If kind of results are flatlined, if you're seeing that the cost per click is the same, your conversion rate's the same, they haven't really added any new keywords, etc., and you're spending a couple of grand a month, they're probably not doing a lot at this stage. You're just on a retainer. Even if you've outsourced it, that could probably be a time you start to consider whether you need to DIY or whether you ask them to pause what they're doing, and you can actually just keep that campaign running until maybe you find that things aren't working as well. So there are still things that someone will need to do to keep that campaign working well, but the amount of time that needs to be invested is very significant in the beginning, and it kind of tethers off towards, as time goes on. So as long as you understand that, that should help you make a good decision about what to do yourself and what to outsource and when. So when it comes to your ads, here's some rough numbers for you. Decide if you'd rather invest 4 to 8 hours or maybe like $1,500 to $3,000 on the initial strategy and plan for each campaign. And again, maybe 8 to 16 hours a month, or $1,500 to $3,000 a month on the optimization. Now, in saying that, 8 to 16 hours, if you're outsourcing this to an agency or an expert, they're probably not spending 8 to 16 hours a month. Maybe they're spending 10 hours, but again, they're going to be much quicker at doing things than you are, because they have a process, they do it for lots of different clients, and they're just ticking boxes. You're having to learn, okay? So it's going to take you a lot longer. So putting that into the equation, you might want to even double how much time you're going to need to spend if you do it yourself. Again, if you're a Growth Sprout member, I've got step-by-step instructions for you. I've got checklists for what you need to be doing on a weekly basis to optimizing your campaigns. I've got campaign strategies. I've got recommended settings for different types of campaigns. That's all in there for you. But they're kind of an idea of some high-level numbers about the difference between time and money when it comes to, say, Facebook ads, Google ads, etc. Either way, again, ensure you're part of the conversation and you own your strategy and your plan, okay? Make sure this strategy and plan is based on proven techniques and best practices, okay? So do your research either way. I've kind of talked about some of the things that are available in the dashboard, in the portal for the members that are watching. Again, there are courses in there on Google ads and Facebook ads, on Facebook retargeting, on Google display ads, on Google shopping, a whole bunch of stuff. I've got settings on cheat sheets on recommended settings for each of those platforms. I've got copy scripts for your ads, a whole lot more. So if you are just going to, try and DIY, there's a whole lot of resources in there for you as well. So here is just a quick screenshot of the Google Ads for Lead Generation course that is in the portal, the members portal. So you can see on the side here, you'll go through how to plan your campaign, how to do your research, how to plan out. So we look at the big picture with my membership. We don't just look at, say, Google Ads in isolation. We look at where that Google Ads campaign should fit in your overarching funnel, or this journey we're taking people through. So how do we plan your funnel? How do we build your landing pages? What copy should be on your landing pages? Templates for those landing pages, what analytics and tracking to set up, what success looks like, how to set your goals. And then obviously building out your campaign, analyzing and optimizing your campaign, and then what's next after that. So that's just an example of one of the courses that are in the portal ready for members. I've just kind of talked through all of this. And then here's an example of some of the resources that you have got access to as well. So I've got things like a campaign planner, ad copy checklist, a goal calculator, so how to actually set goals. And the goal calculator is really powerful because it will allow you to look at where you can move. So if you know you can't hit a conversion rate more than 3%, what other areas of your campaign or your funnel can you look at to improve your revenue and your performance, where you know that you can't probably get much better on that conversion rate, for example. Okay, so that's a really powerful tool, and it'll also give you a really powerful starting point for as a minimum what you need to achieve. So if I can only hit if my cost per click can't get below $5 and I know my conversion rate can't get above 3%, for example, are you actually going to make enough money from this campaign? Are you actually going to hit goals that make sense? And if not, well, you can stop before you start. There's benchmarks in there for the current year, a whole bunch of other stuff, ad ranking factors. So there's a whole lot of resources if you decide to DIY any of these components of your marketing. So as a quick summary, you need to own the outcome. You're the business owner. It is you that's going to be most impacted if things go wrong. So hold people accountable, ask questions, pick your experts very carefully. Be very careful about how you invest your time and your money. Your time is highly valuable as a business owner. Educate yourself. Even if you outsource everything, educate yourself enough that you can have a conversation. Okay? Don't leave yourself at the mercy to one person's advice or recommendations. Okay? Which might be wrong. Okay? Or might be biased because they're trying to sell to you. Okay? And always weigh up the time versus money equation for each part of your marketing. Avoid reinventing the wheel. Avoid wasting time or money. Think smartly about how to get the most out of both your money and your time, regardless of which side you go to, the DIY or the outsourcing, or a combination of both. How can you be smarter? How can you use assets that are already created? How can you get multiple quotes to make sure you're not overspending when it comes to your experts, etc. That's it. So it was a long video. I hope that was valuable for you and give you some sort of a better idea of where to spend your time and your money, what to outsource and what to DIY. And yeah, I'll see you for the next video. If you want to find out more about membership, it's currently only $49 a month. So it's very, very affordable. And I add to the assets and the courses that are in there all the time. So I do highly recommend it. I built my Growth Sprout members portal to empower business owners and even marketers to own this conversation better, to be more empowered, to get better results, to hold the marketing industry accountable to results. So that's why I've kept it so cheap. So you can find out more on my website. But there's obviously always more videos that I'm creating as well. So you can always just check back onto, again, my website or my YouTube channel or my social media pages to see what's new when it comes to just my free video content and other resources as well. Have a great day, and I will speak to you guys soon.